Have you ever felt like you always give your all for your family, only to be forgotten or taken for granted? Odalis's story will make you reflect on the boundaries between love and being used, between sacrifice and self-respect. Before we begin, I want to ask you, where are you reading this story right now? Are you at home, in the place where you feel safest? Or are you somewhere else in the world, searching for connection and understanding? Share where you are in the comments below. You might just find yourself somewhere in Odalis's journey. Scroll down, keep reading, and don't forget to leave a comment. Every home has a story, and this is Odalis's. Odalis stood in the kitchen, her hands moving with practiced ease as she folded pale linen napkins into delicate rose shapes. She always found comfort in small, careful tasks, especially on nights when the air in her mother's house felt thick with unsaid words. Tonight was one of those nights of family dinner, supposedly in celebration, but Odalis could sense the tension simmering beneath the surface, as palpable as the scent of rosemary chicken wafting from the oven. By 6:45, the dining room was full. Zinnia, her younger sister, sat across the table, her diamond ring catching the chandelier's light with every flick of her hand. Their mother, Ramona, beamed with pride, her eyes never straying far from Zinnia's left hand. Lel, their father, sat at the head of the table, silent and stern, his presence commanding even when he said nothing. Odalis took her seat quietly, placing a napkin by each plate. No one noticed the careful folds, the subtle blush of color she'd chosen to match the china. She didn't expect them to. She'd long ago learned that her efforts, while necessary, were rarely acknowledged. Dinner began with the usual small talk wedding plans, work updates, the weather. But Odalis felt herself drifting, her mind half listening as she passed the casserole dish, her smile polite but distant. It was only when Zinnia set her wine glass down with a deliberate tap that the conversation shifted. So, Zinnia began, her voice sweet. We're thinking a December wedding, something small, classy, and quick. She looked directly at Odalis, her smile tight. Just 3 months away, there were murmurs of approval, a low whistle from Sterling, Zinnia's fiancé. Ramona dabbed her mouth with a napkin one of Odalis's, crumpled now and turned to her eldest daughter with a casual tone that didn't match the sharpness in her eyes. You know what would be lovely, Ramona said, if you gifted her a car for the big day. A Lexus, maybe? Something dependable, like you always are. The room fell silent. Odalis felt every gaze settle on her. She gripped her water glass, knuckles whitening. I didn't know that was something being discussed, she replied, her voice steady. I hadn't planned for that. Lel exhaled, disappointment heavy in the sound. Ramona pressed her hand to her chest, wounded. You mean you're saying no? I'm saying I need to think about it. That's a lot to consider. Zinnia's lower lip trembled, her voice barely above a whisper. I always knew you looked down on me. Odie, you act like you're above all this, above me. No one said anything like that, Odalis replied, but her appetite had vanished. Ramona leaned in, her voice soft but cutting. You've always had trouble giving, Odalis. Ever since you were a little girl, you hoard your kindness like it's something to be rationed. Lel, ever the final voice, spoke without looking at her. After all we've done for you. Odalis took a sip of water, willing her hand not to shake. There was no yelling, just silence thick as syrup, forks scraping plates as eyes avoided hers. No one asked about her work. No one mentioned the dessert she'd baked. The only napkin used was the one in Ramona's lap, stained and crumpled. After dinner, as chairs scraped and the family dispersed, Ramona brushed past Odalis in the kitchen. Without looking at her, she whispered, It's not too late to do the right thing. Her tone was not pleading but warning. Odalis found one of her napkins, stained and tossed in a drawer. She stared at it, memory and resolve settling in her chest. She left the napkin where it was and drove home in silence, not trusting herself to speak. Odalis woke to the persistent chime of her phone. Dawn had barely broken, but already her sister's new post was trending on every family group and social circle. Zanea's photo, a close-up of her engagement ring. The diamond catching the morning light was captioned with a quote, "Family should be more than just blood. Sometimes, it's about who actually cares." The comments underneath were a minefield. Relatives, friends, even distant acquaintances weighed in with hearts and supportive messages. But a few, the ones who knew the family well, hinted at something deeper. "Not everyone understands sacrifice," one cousin wrote. Another added, "You deserve the world." Zen, "Don't let negativity bring you down." Odalis scrolled, her heart pounding. No names were mentioned, but she knew. Everyone would know. The sting of betrayal was sharp, but the silence of those who didn't defend her was worse. She dressed quickly, her mind racing. At work, colleagues eyed her with sidelong glances. The cheerful morning greetings were absent. Instead, there were awkward smiles and hushed conversations that stopped when she walked by. Odalis tried to focus on her tasks, but the weight of isolation pressed in from all sides. By lunchtime, her phone buzzed with a message from her mother. "We're having a family meeting tonight. Don't be late." The tone was curt, final. Odalis replied with a simple, "Okay," but her stomach twisted at the thought. That evening, the house was full. Ramona sat at the head of the dining table, her hands folded, expression unreadable. Lel was beside her, his usual silence more pronounced than ever. Zanea sat next to Sterling, her eyes downcast, but her posture defiant. Relatives Odalis hadn't seen in months filled the remaining chairs, their expressions ranging from curiosity to thinly veiled judgment. Ramona cleared her throat. "We're here to discuss the wedding plans," she began, "and to make sure everyone is on the same page." Odalis sat quietly, waiting for the axe to fall. "Some people," Ramona continued, her gaze sweeping the room, "seem to think it's acceptable to put their own needs above the family's. But we are a unit. We support each other. We make sacrifices." Aunt Letitia nodded sagely. "It's not about what you want. It's about what's best for everyone." Odalis felt the walls closing in. She opened her mouth to speak, but Zanea cut her off. "I just want my wedding to be perfect," she said, her voice trembling. "Is that so much to ask? I don't want to be the one who's left behind, the one who's forgotten." Odalis blinked, surprised by the raw emotion in her sister's voice. For a moment, she almost reached out, but then Zanea looked up, and her eyes were hard. "You always act like you're better than us, Odie, like you don't need anyone, but you're just as selfish as the rest of us. You just hide it better." The room erupted into murmurs. Odalis felt the heat rise in her cheeks. "I've never said I was better than anyone," she managed. "I just asked for time to think. That's all." Ramona sighed. "Time to think about helping your own sister. What is there to think about?" Lel finally spoke, his voice low and measured. "You've always been the strong one, Odalis. But sometimes, strength means putting others first." Odalis looked around the table. Every face was turned toward her, waiting. She realized, with a sinking heart, that she was outnumbered. No one would take her side. Not tonight. She stood, her chair scraping against the floor. "I need to go," she said quietly. No one tried to stop her. Outside, the night air was cool. Odalis walked to her car, her mind a whirl of hurt and confusion. She unlocked the door, but before she could get in, her phone buzzed again. A message from her cousin, Marisol. Are you okay? I saw the posts. It's not fair. Odalis hesitated, then replied, I'll be fine. Thanks for asking. She drove home in silence, the city lights blurring through her unshed tears. When she finally reached her apartment, she checked her phone one last time. A new post from Zanea, a photo of the family. Everyone smiling, arms around each other. The caption, True family sticks together, always. Odalis wasn't in the picture. She set her phone aside, the ache in her chest deepening. The house felt too quiet, too empty. She tried to distract herself with work, with chores, but the sting of betrayal lingered. Later that night, as she lay in bed, Odalis realized something: she was alone, not just physically, but in every way that mattered. Her family, the people she had always put first, had turned their backs on her. And the worst part, she wasn't sure she was surprised. She closed her eyes, but sleep didn't come easily. The echoes of the evening's words played over in her mind, each one a fresh wound. But beneath the hurt, something else stirred: a quiet resolve. If she couldn't rely on her family, she would have to rely on herself. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. Odalis spent the next few days in a haze. The cold shoulder from her family was expected, but the silence from friends and colleagues still stung. She buried herself in work, hoping the routine would dull the ache. But every night, returning to her apartment, she felt the weight of isolation press in. Then, one evening, scrolling through social media to distract herself, Odalis stopped short. A photo of her house, the one she'd bought for her family after her father's stroke, filled her screen. Zanea had posted it with a caption, Can't wait to celebrate my big day in this beautiful home. So grateful for my amazing parents who made this possible. Wedding venue, #family love. Odalis's breath caught. The comments overflowed with congratulations and compliments. What a stunning house. Your parents are so generous. You deserve this. Zen. Her hands trembled as she zoomed in on the picture. The living room was decorated with wedding banners, and in the background, she could see her mother arranging flowers. No one had mentioned her. No one had asked her permission. Odalis set her phone down, her mind racing. She opened her email and searched for the documents: the deed, the mortgage papers, the insurance, all in her name. She'd bought the house for her family, but she'd never imagined they'd use it like this, claim it as their own, erase her from the story. She called her lawyer, her voice shaking as she explained the situation. They can't just use your property for an event without your consent. The lawyer assured her, legally, you have every right to stop them. Odalis thanked her and hung up, but her heart still pounded. She thought about her parents, about the years she'd spent supporting them, about the sacrifices she'd made. Had it all meant nothing? She thought about Zanea, about the years of rivalry and the unspoken resentment. She thought about herself, always the responsible one, always the one expected to give, never the one to receive. That night, Odalis couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every conversation, every slight, every moment she'd been taken for granted. She remembered the napkins she'd folded, the meals she'd cooked, the holidays she'd organized. She remembered the times she'd put her own dreams aside to help her family, and now they were using her house, her home, as if it belonged to them. The next morning, Odalis drove to the house. She parked down the street, not ready to be seen. Through the window, she could see her mother and Zanea laughing, arranging chairs, hanging decorations. Her father stood in the corner, silent as ever. But there was a lightness to his posture she hadn't seen in years. Odalis watched, her heart breaking and hardening at the same time. She wanted to storm in, to demand an explanation, to remind them whose house this really was. But she stayed where she was, invisible, forgotten. She took out her phone and snapped a picture of the scene her family, happy, planning a wedding in her house, as if she didn't exist. She saved it, then drove away. Back at her apartment, Odalis called her lawyer again. "I want to send them a formal notice," she said, her voice steady now. "I want them to know this is my house, and they can't use it without my permission." The lawyer agreed. Together, they drafted a letter outlining Odalis's legal rights and demanding that the family cease using the house for the wedding unless they signed a formal rental agreement. Odalis signed the letter, then hesitated. She thought about her mother's face, about her father's silence, about Zenaya's defiance. She thought about the years of love and obligation, of duty and disappointment. She sent the letter anyway. The response was swift and brutal. Her phone rang almost immediately, her mother, her voice sharp with anger. "How dare you?" Ramona hissed. "After everything we've done for you?" Odalis listened, her heart pounding, but she didn't back down. "It's my house. Mom, I bought it. You can't just use it without asking." Ramona hung up. Zenaya called next, her voice tearful. "Why are you doing this to me, to us? Don't you want me to be happy?" Odalis closed her eyes. "I do want you to be happy, Zen, but not at my expense. Not like this." Zenaya sobbed, then hung up. Odalis's father called last. His voice was quiet, resigned. "We thought you'd understand," he said. "We thought you'd want to help." Odalis swallowed hard. "I do want to help, Dad, but I can't keep giving until there's nothing left of me." There was silence on the other end. Then her father sighed. "We'll talk about this later," he said, and hung up. That night, Odalis sat alone in her apartment, the weight of the day pressing down on her. She thought about her family, about the years of love and sacrifice, about the pain of being erased, of being forgotten. She thought about the house, about the memories it held, about the future it represented. She thought about herself, about who she was, about what she wanted, about what she deserved. And for the first time in a long time, Odalis allowed herself to feel angry, not just hurt, not just sad, but truly, deeply angry. Angry at her family for taking her for granted. Angry at herself for letting them. She stood up, walked to her desk, and opened her laptop. She began to gather every document, every email, every proof of ownership. She would not be erased. She would not be forgotten. She would fight for herself, for her home, for her dignity, for her right to be seen. Odalis woke to a barrage of messages. Her family had not taken her letter well. The group chat was flooded with accusations her mother, her sister, even aunts and uncles she rarely spoke to. The tone ranged from wounded to outright hostile. Odalis turned off her phone notifications and focused on her morning routine, steeling herself for what was to come. Her lawyer, Ms. Alvarez, called mid-morning. "They've retained their own counsel," she said. "They're claiming you gave them verbal permission to use the house for the wedding. They're threatening to countersue for emotional distress if you try to stop them." Odalis exhaled sharply. "That's ridiculous. I never gave them permission." "I know," Ms. Alvarez assured her, "but we need to be prepared. I'll draft a formal response and send a copy to the event planners, too. That should put some pressure on them." Odalis thanked her and hung up. She felt a strange mix of dread and determination. She had always avoided conflict, especially with her family, but now there was no avoiding it. That afternoon, Odalis returned to the house this time in broad daylight. She parked in the driveway, her presence impossible to ignore. As she walked up the path, she could see her mother through the window, her face twisting in surprise. Ramona flung the door open. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. Odalis stood her ground. "This is my house. Mom, I have every right to be here." Ramona's eyes flashed. "You're making a scene? Is that what you want? To embarrass us?" Odalis shook her head. "No, I just want the truth. This is my house. I bought it. You can't use it for the wedding unless I agree." Ramona crossed her arms. "We're your family. You owe us." Odalis felt her patience fray. "I've given you everything I have, but I can't keep giving if you don't even see me." Her mother's expression softened for a moment, then hardened again. "You're being selfish. Think about your sister. Think about your father." Odalis looked past her mother, into the living room. Zenea stood there, her eyes red from crying. Sterling hovered behind her, looking uncomfortable. "I am thinking about you," Odalis said quietly, "but I have to think about myself, too." The argument escalated quickly. Zenea joined in, her voice shrill. "You're ruining my wedding. Is that what you want? To see me miserable?" Odalis took a deep breath. "No, Zen, I want you to be happy, but not like this, not by taking from me." Sterling stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "Maybe we should all take a step back. This isn't helping anyone." Ramona rounded on him. "This is a family matter. Stay out of it." Sterling held up his hands and retreated, but Odalis caught the look he gave her, apologetic, understanding. The tension in the room was unbearable. Odalis felt her resolve waver, but she held firm. "I'm not backing down," she said. "This is my house. If you want to use it, we need to do this the right way." Ramona's face darkened. "You'll regret this." Odalis turned and left, her heart pounding. She knew she had done the right thing, but it didn't feel good. The next few days were a blur. The formal notice had been sent to the event planners, who immediately put the wedding plans on hold. The local community was buzzing with gossip. Social media was divided. Some people sided with Odalis, others with her family. The comments were brutal, the speculation wild. Odalis tried to ignore it, but it was impossible. She received messages from old friends, from distant relatives, even from coworkers. Some offered support, others judgment. She replied to none of them. Then, one evening, her phone buzzed with a message from Sterling. It was a voice memo, marked private. Curious, Odalis played it. Sterling's voice was low, hesitant. "Odalis, I know this is weird, but I wanted you to hear this from me. Zenea and your parents know the house is yours. They've known all along. They just didn't want to admit it. They thought if they ignored it, you'd let it go. I'm sorry. I should have said something sooner." Odalis listened to the message twice, her hands shaking. She had suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed was still a shock. She saved the voice memo, then called Ms. Alvarez. "I have proof," she said, "proof that they knew the house was mine." "Ms. Alvarez sounded relieved. "That's huge. We'll use it if we have to, but let's try to resolve this without going to court. If we can." Odalis agreed. She didn't want a public spectacle. She just wanted her family to acknowledge the truth. The following day, the local news picked up the story. A reporter called Odalis for comment. She hesitated, then agreed to speak, not to air her family's dirty laundry, but to set the record straight. "The house is in my name," she told the reporter. "I bought it for my family after my father's stroke. I never expected anything in return, but I did expect to be treated with respect. I expect my family to be honest with me." The article was published that evening. It was fair, balanced, and included Odalis's side of the story. The reporter had also reached out to her family, but they had declined to comment. The response was immediate. Social media exploded. Some people accused Odalis of being heartless, of airing her family's problems in public. But many others, especially women who had experienced similar situations, rallied behind her. The hashtag stand with Odalis began trending. Odalis was overwhelmed by the support, but also by the scrutiny. She had never wanted this to be public. She had only wanted to be seen, to be acknowledged. That night, Odalis sat alone in her apartment, staring at her phone. The messages kept coming, some supportive, some cruel. She ignored most of them, but one caught her eye. It was from her father. "We need to talk," it read, "just you and me." Odalis hesitated, then replied, "Okay," when her father's response was immediate, "Tomorrow, at the house. No one else will be there." Odalis agreed. She didn't know what to expect, but she was ready to face whatever came next. Odalis arrived at the house early, her stomach twisted in knots. The morning sun cast long shadows across the lawn, and the quiet of the neighborhood felt almost eerie. She sat in her car for a moment, gathering her thoughts, before walking up to the front door. Her father was already waiting, sitting at the kitchen table with 2 cups of coffee. He looked older than she remembered, his shoulders slumped, his face lined with exhaustion. He gestured for her to sit. "Thanks for coming," he said, his voice rough. Odalis nodded, taking the chair across from him. The silence stretched between them, heavy and thick. She sipped her coffee, waiting for him to speak. "I read the article," he finally said. "You did the right thing, telling your side." Odalis looked up, surprised. "You think so?" Her father sighed. "I don't know what's right anymore, but I know you're not wrong. The house is yours. We all knew that. We just didn't want to admit it." Odalis felt a lump form in her throat. Why not? Her father rubbed his temples. "Pride, I guess. Shame. Your mother, she's always been proud. She didn't want people to know we needed your help. Zanea, she's always been jealous of you. I think she wanted to prove she could have something special, too." Odalis looked down at her hands. "I never wanted to take anything away from her. I just wanted to help." "I know," her father said. "But sometimes helping isn't enough. Sometimes people need to feel like they matter. And your mother and sister, they felt like they didn't." Odalis swallowed hard. "And what about you, Dad? What do you feel?" Her father was quiet for a long time. "I feel tired," he admitted. "Tired of pretending. Tired of watching my family fall apart." Odalis reached across the table, but stopped short. She wasn't sure if her father wanted comfort, or if he even deserved it. "What happens now?" she asked. Her father looked at her, his eyes tired but clear. "That's up to you, Odalis. The house is yours. The wedding? It's not going to happen here. The planner's already canceled. Zanea is devastated. Your mother is furious. But I think it's time for you to decide what you want." Odalis felt the weight of his words. She had spent so long trying to please her family, trying to be the strong one, the responsible one. Now, for the first time, she had the power to choose. "I want my family back," she said softly. "But not like this. Not if it means I have to disappear." Her father nodded. "I understand. I can't promise things will change, but I can promise I'll try." Odalis felt a flicker of hope. It wasn't much, but it was something. When she left the house, Odalis felt lighter, but the storm was far from over. Her phone buzzed with messages her mother, her sister, even a few from Sterling. She ignored them for now, needing time to process. That evening, she met with her lawyer. Ms. Alvarez reviewed the latest developments. The wedding planners had officially pulled out. The community was still divided, and the media attention was beginning to die down. "You did the right thing," Ms. Alvarez said. "You stood up for yourself. That's not easy, especially with family." Odalis nodded. "It doesn't feel good. It rarely does," Ms. Alvarez admitted. "But it's necessary. You deserve to be seen. Odalis, you deserve to matter. Odalis left the office with a renewed sense of purpose. She wasn't just fighting for her house, she was fighting for herself. The next morning, Odalis woke to a new message from Zanaya. It was long, emotional, and raw. I'm sorry, Zanaya wrote. I was jealous. I wanted what you had. I wanted to be you. But I went about it all wrong. I hurt you, and I'm sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want you to know I'm trying to be better. Odalis read the message twice, her heart aching. She typed a reply, then deleted it. She wasn't ready to forgive, not yet, but she wasn't ready to give up either. Later that day, her father called. Your mother wants to talk, he said. Just the two of you, at the house. Odalis agreed, though she wasn't sure what to expect. When she arrived, her mother was waiting in the living room, her hands folded in her lap. Ramona looked up as Odalis entered. Sit down, she said, her voice softer than usual. Odalis sat, bracing herself for another argument. But her mother surprised her. I was wrong, Ramona said. I let my pride get in the way. I didn't want to admit we needed your help. I didn't want to admit you were stronger than me. Odalis blinked, stunned. She had never heard her mother admit fault before. I'm sorry, Ramona continued. I hurt you. I took you for granted. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want you to know I'm trying. Odalis felt tears prick her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. That means a lot. Ramona reached across the space between them, her hand trembling. Odalis hesitated, then took it. They sat like that for a long time, neither speaking, both understanding that words weren't enough. As the days passed, the tension in the family began to ease. The wedding was postponed, but not canceled. Zania and Sterling found a new venue, and though it wasn't as grand, they seemed happier, more at peace. Odalis returned to the house, this time as its rightful owner. She walked through the rooms, remembering the good times and the bad. She thought about her family, about the years of love and sacrifice, about the pain of being forgotten. But she also thought about herself, about the woman she had become, about the strength she had found. She knew things wouldn't be perfect. She knew there would still be arguments, still be hurt. But for the first time in a long time, she felt seen. She felt heard. She sat at the kitchen table, the same one where she had talked with her father, and pulled out a notebook. She began to write about her feelings, about her hopes, about the future. She wrote until her hand ached, until the words ran dry. Then she closed the notebook and stood up. She walked to the living room, where a photo of her family hung on the wall. She looked at it for a long time, then gently took it down. She wasn't erasing her family. She was making space for herself. A week after the confrontation, Odalis received a thick envelope in the mail. Inside was a check for $40,000, the exact amount she had put into the house, along with a short note from her father. We talked about this as a family. It's not an apology, but it's a start. The house is yours. We hope you'll be happy there. Dad Odalis held the check in her hands, her emotions swirling. It wasn't the apology she had longed for, but it was an acknowledgement, a step toward honesty. She set the check aside and picked up her phone, hesitating before sending a simple reply. Thank you. I appreciate it. That afternoon, she drove to the house. The wedding decorations were gone, the rooms quiet and empty. She walked through each space, remembering the laughter and arguments, the holidays and heartaches. This was her home now, in every sense of the word. She sat at the kitchen table, her father's note beside her, and pulled out her laptop. She opened her email and found a message from her lawyer. Her father had amended his will, officially transferring the house to her name. There was no fanfare, No ceremony, just a quiet correction of the record. Odalis closed her laptop and looked around. The house felt different now, lighter, more hers. She decided to make some changes. She started with Zanaya's old room, stripping the bed and clearing the shelves. She would turn it into a home office, a space for her own dreams and ambitions. As she worked, her phone buzzed. It was Zanaya. Can we talk, just us? No parents, no Sterling. Odalis hesitated, then agreed. They met at a cafe in town, a neutral place, away from the memories and the tension of the house. Zinnia looked tired, but there was a new softness in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice quiet. "I was jealous and hurt, and I took it out on you. I thought if I had what you had, I'd feel better, but I just made everything worse." Odalis listened, her heart aching. "I'm sorry, too," she said. "I didn't mean to make you feel left out. I just wanted to help." Zanaya nodded. "I know, and I'm grateful. Even if I didn't show it, I just, I wanted to be seen, too. I wanted to matter." Odalis reached across the table and took her sister's hand. "You do matter, Zen. You always have." Zanaya smiled, her eyes glistening. "Maybe we can start over, not as rivals, but as sisters." Odalis squeezed her hand. "I'd like that." They talked for hours, sharing stories and regrets, hopes and fears. It wasn't a perfect reconciliation, but it was a beginning. A few days later, Odalis's mother called. Her voice was hesitant, unsure. "I'd like to see you," she said, "if you're willing." Odalis agreed. They met at the house, just the two of them. Ramona brought a box of old pictures of Odalis as a child, of family vacations, of birthdays and graduations. They sat at the kitchen table, flipping through the memories. "I was so proud of you," Ramona said, her voice soft. "But I didn't know how to show it. I thought if I pushed you, you'd be stronger. I didn't realize I was pushing you away." Odalis looked at her mother, seeing her in a new light. "I just wanted you to see me," she said, "to know that I was enough." Ramona reached out, her hand trembling. "You are enough, Odalis. You always have been." They sat in silence for a long time, the past and present mingling in the quiet of the house. Aistihu. As the weeks passed, the family began to heal. The wedding was rescheduled, and this time, Odalis was invited not as a guest, but as a bridesmaid. She stood beside her sister, her heart full, as Zanea and Sterling exchanged vows in a small, intimate ceremony. After the wedding, Odalis returned to the house. She hung a new photo on the wall, one of her and Zanaya, laughing together, their arms around each other. She kept her father's note and the check in a drawer, not as a reminder of the pain, but as a symbol of progress. She invited her closest friends and her Aunt Marina over for dinner, filling the house with laughter and warmth. For the first time in a long time, she felt at peace. One evening, as she sat in her new office, her phone buzzed. It was a message from her father. "I'm proud of you, Odalis, not just for what you've done, but for who you are. I hope you'll let us be part of your life again, in whatever way you choose." Odalis smiled, her heart full. She typed a reply. "I'd like that, Dad. Thank you." She closed her laptop and looked around the room. The house was hers now, in every sense, not just the walls and the furniture, but the memories and the future she would build within them. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past lift from her shoulders. She wasn't just Odalis, the daughter, the sister, the caregiver. She was Odalis, the woman who had fought for herself, who had learned to say no, who had found her voice. And for the first time in a long time, she felt free. Epilogue, Healing and Hope. Months have passed since the storm. Odalis stands in the center of her living room, sunlight streaming through the windows, painting the walls in warm golden hues. The house feels different now, lighter, brighter, as if the air itself has been renewed. She spent weeks making it her own, repainting, rearranging, adding little touches that reflect who she is. Her old office chair sits in what used to be Zanaya's room. The space is now a cozy sanctuary, lined with bookshelves and a small writing desk. On the wall hangs a framed print of her favorite quote, "You are enough." It's a daily reminder, a promise to herself. Odalis walks to the kitchen, where she set out a simple but elegant dinner, homemade dishes, candles, and, of course, her signature folded napkins. Tonight, she's hosting her first gathering in the house since everything changed. Aunt Marina, her closest friends, and a few trusted colleagues will be here. The guest list is small, but it's filled with people who truly see her. As the doorbell rings, Odalis feels a flutter of excitement. She greets her guests warmly, their laughter filling the rooms. The conversation is easy, the atmosphere relaxed. No one expects anything from her tonight except her presence. After dinner, as the candles flicker and the night deepens, Odalis takes a moment to step outside. The air is cool, the sky scattered with stars. She breathes in deeply, savoring the quiet. Inside, her phone lights up with a message from her father. "Thinking of you tonight? Hope you're happy. We miss you." Odalis smiles. She's not ready to invite her parents over just yet, but she knows the door is open. Healing takes time, and she's learned to be patient with herself and with her family. She returns to her guests, joining the laughter and conversation. The house feels alive again, not just with people, but with possibility. For the first time in a long time, Odalis feels truly at home, not just in the house, but in her own life. She raises her glass, toasting to new beginnings and to the quiet strength it takes to rebuild. The past is behind her, the future ahead, and tonight, surrounded by people who truly care. Odalis knows she is exactly where she's meant to be. And so, Odalis's journey reminds us that sometimes the hardest battles are the ones we fight within ourselves and with those we love the most. True strength isn't just about giving, it's also about knowing when to set boundaries, honor your worth, and choose your own happiness. But the story doesn't end here. How did Odalis's journey make you feel? Did it remind you of your own experiences or inspire you to stand up for yourself? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts and where you're reading from. Thank you for joining Odalis on her path to healing and hope. Remember, your story matters, and so do you. Every ending is a new beginning. Keep writing your own.